What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. And there's a lot going on in the sports world right now, but I want to start off this video talking about the big news in the NBA that Celtics head coach Ime Udoka is facing a possible year-long suspension from the team for violating their code of conduct policy. Essentially, he had a relationship with a female member of the team, and that goes against their code of conduct, and it's looking like he's going to be suspended for the entirety of the 2022-2023 season. And it was reported earlier today on Thursday, when I'm recording this, that he could potentially think about resigning as head coach of the Celtics. And this definitely changes the landscape of the Eastern Conference heading into the season, because the Celtics made that leap. They went to the finals last year, and a big part of that, aside from the development of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart stepping up his defense, winning Defensive Player of the Year, was Ime Udoka establishing a system that allowed Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and all those guys to gel offensively. In 2019, when they lost to the Bucks in that second round, and even before that, they had the problem of having too many cooks in the kitchen, and Brad Stevens wasn't able to get all that talent and gel it together and put it into one cohesive unit. And Ime Udoka found a way to do that in just one season with the team. It's so rare that you see a first-year head coach take a team all the way to the finals, and he was able to do that. And now things change so quickly in sports, and now you look at this and it makes you think about what the outlook is for the Celtics this year, because as I just said, a big part of that reason they went to the finals was because of the coaching of Ime Udoka. And I think this changes the landscape of the Eastern Conference, because I've said it in multiple videos, but the East got better in the offseason. You still have to look at Brooklyn with KD and Kyrie. You obviously have Milwaukee, the 2021 champs, with Giannis, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, all coming back healthy. And then I think another team that made a lot of improvements in the offseason, in all seriousness, is the 76ers, because James Harden is looking like he's getting in great shape, looking like he's trying to get some of his burst back. We know what Joel Embiid will give you. He'll give you defense, he'll block shots, and then he'll give you 28 and 10 on offense, and he can score essentially on all spots of the floor. Probably the most skilled big, I don't know if he's the most skilled big man in the game, because if you want to count what Jokic does as skill, but he's one of the most skilled big men we've ever seen for sure. And he's coming back this season with the Sixers, and I think in order for the Celtics to basically survive this season without Ime Udoka, they're going to have to continue to buy in on the defensive end and make sure that on offense guys are getting their touches, and that when it comes to those close moments in the close games, they know what they want to do. They know what they want to execute. I think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are in good shape. I would still probably lean towards Jason Tatum as the guy I want on that team when it comes to clutch time. But Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, the gap between them isn't really as big, in my opinion, as some people want you to think. I think Jaylen Brown is maybe just as bit as skilled on offense, just as skilled as Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum's definitely a lot more fluid, I would say. Jaylen Brown's a little more stiff player when it comes to handling the ball and making his movements. Jason Tatum is a lot more fluid, which is crazy for a guy who's 6'10", the way he can move like that. But the Celtics are this just changes so much in the Eastern Conference, because the Celtics were I don't know if they're still the favorite, but all offseason they've been the betting favorite to go back to the finals, not to win, but just to get out of the East. And now I think, as it sits today, you have to look at the Bucks as the favorite to get out of the East, because even though I'm not the biggest fan of Mike Budenholzer, I think you have to look at the fact that they have an established system that they know that can win a championship. Whatever you want to say with the injuries is whatever you want to say with the injuries. I'm not going to get into all of that, but they have the best player in the conference, and they have the best player in the league in Giannis, who's done it before. I would say at this very moment, the Bucks should be considered the favorites to get out of the East, go back to the finals, and whether or not they win it, that's another story. And who knows? I might be wrong. Maybe this doesn't have as big of an impact on the Celtics as we think it will, but I definitely think this is a huge blow for Boston, and something that they're going to have to prepare for, because it's going to be a lot different without Ime Udoka coaching them, and the East is definitely going to be the more interesting, in my opinion, of the two conferences in terms of seeing how they respond to this and how all the other teams in the East, like the Heat, the Bucks, the Sixers, the Hawks, the Bulls, even Toronto, Cleveland, I forgot to mention Cleveland with Donovan Mitchell, all those teams in the East, Brooklyn, how they're going to play this year, because it's going to be a very tight race. But as of right now, I have the Bucks as my favorite to come out of the East. And then just switching over to the NFL, one NFL team that I wanted to talk about was the Green Bay Packers. And they're heading down to Tampa Bay to play Tom Brady and the Bucks this week. Last week, they played the Chicago Bears on Monday Night Football. Seems like it's an annual game every year, Green Bay versus Chicago on Sunday Night Football. And Green Bay did what they usually do to the Bears, whether it's at home or away. They spanked them. That's what they always do to the Bears when Aaron Rodgers is there. They beat them handedly. And I just want to say that I don't think there was much to take away from that game. They obviously got going in the run game, which is something that Green Bay likes to do when they come off a loss, because I think in losses they just drop Aaron Rodgers back over and over and over again and expect him to throw them back into the game, and then they just kind of abandon the run game. And then when they come back after losses, they get the run game more involved and get it going. And even then, I still don't think Green Bay looked too good. The main thing I'm concerned about, I would be concerned about from the Packers, is Aaron Rodgers and how quickly he can get chemistry with his rookie receivers, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson. We all saw in Week 1 against the Vikings the huge drop that Christian Watson had. He had the corner beat. I believe it was Patrick Peterson. He had him beat. It was like a little slant go route or like an up. It was some kind of go route, and he had him beat. He ran a perfect route, and Rodgers threw a perfect pass, and it just went right through his hands. And that stuff happens. He's a rookie. It happens to a lot of young players in the NFL. But what was disappointing and concerning about that is that Rodgers just stopped throwing to him that game. And I think the only other time he touched the ball was on a touch pass, and that counts as a pass in today's NFL. You get credit for that as a pass, but that's not really a pass. You're just pushing the ball forward. And so I think it's going to be very interesting to see how quickly Aaron Rodgers can develop chemistry with his young receivers, because that could be the make or break of their season, as their Green Bay's defense doesn't look as strong as it did in previous years, but it could still be their best unit. And so Sunday's matchup, I believe it's on Sunday, against Tampa Bay is going to be a tough task for them, because Tampa Bay's defense has looked really good to start the season. They held off Dallas, a formidable offense who led the league in scoring last year. And then they went to New Orleans, and essentially for most of that game, New Orleans was only able to get 3 points on the board. I forget what the final score was, but Tampa Bay's defense has definitely been the reason they're 2-0 right now, because they don't look that good on offense. And they won't have Mike Evans for this game. That's a key thing to consider because of his fight with Marshawn Lattimore last week. And so, yeah, that's going to be a very interesting matchup on Sunday. And those are the two things I wanted to talk about in this video: the situation with Ime Udoka and the Boston Celtics and just how it affects the Eastern Conference, and then my outlook so far on the Green Bay Packers sitting at 1-1. And I honestly think it's going to be a long season for Packers fans, because it just depends on how quickly Rodgers can get chemistry with his receivers. And yeah, thanks for watching this video, and make sure to find all my content linked down in the description.